back, and we'll be in our tent at the old spa.
Talking about the Diana.
Talking about the Diana,
races.
yeah. Looking forward to a normal Saratoga
the
schedule.
back where
yes.
it's supposed to be. I'm all thrown off about like what's supposed to be when, because we were all mixed up last year, but happy to have things back on the calendar where they belong. As Anthony mentioned, closing day at Churchill Downs. 10 great races coming up today at beautiful Belmont Park, and we hope you're playing along with all the action on NYRA Bets. You can sign up now. We have that promo code for you, MATCH200. Go to nyrabets.com or download the app today. Bet anytime, anywhere, any place at NYRA Bets, and you can get up to a $200 deposit match bonus with that promo code. We also have the 50-50-50 going on over at NYRA Bets. Bet $50 at Belmont, Churchill, and Thistledown. You can get a $15 bonus today, Saturday, June 26th. You must opt in for that. Go to nyrabets.com. And speaking of Thistledown, that's part of the cross-country Pick 5 sequence today. Love these cross-country Pick 5 sequences. It's all stakes. Thistledown has the Ohio Derby today. We kick things off with the 2-year-olds at Churchill, Bashford Manor. Belmont's Wild Applause, as Anthony mentioned, that's a good one for the Turf Fillies. And at Churchill, the Wise Dan and Stephen Foster, all stakes cross-country Pick 5. Go to nyrabets.com/cross-country for more information. And you can follow all the action from Belmont and Churchill with us on America's Day at the Races. We're on from 12:30 to 6:30 today on Fox Sports 2. Hope that you will tune in and join us as we get ready to kick things off at beautiful Belmont Park. A beautiful day indeed. And Anthony, we start things off on the turf with the New York Breds. A mile and a 16th on the inner here for this 40,000 maiden claiming. And this was a race, I don't know about you, I didn't want to have to pick a winner. I just didn't know what to do.
I didn't want to pick Ghost Mom.
Yep.
But Ghost Mon, rather, I'm sorry. Truth be told, if Ghost Mon runs one of her last 3 races, one of her turf efforts, she is going to win today. Unless the drop in class helps the horse we picked on top, Perpetual Change. There are quite a few races on the card today. I would get screamed at for this. That, to me, it was hard to get past 2 horses.
Yeah.
I'm not saying other horses can't win. For me, my tastes, it was hard for me to get past 1 or 2 horses. This was one of those races. I feel like if Ghostmon shows up, he is going to win. But for a horse that 2.5 to 1 last time, 3.5 to 1 2 starts back, you know, second, third, fourth, get beat a length and a half. So horses starting to pile up some also ran finishes. I'll take the dropper as a little bit of an alternative. Second off the layoff, getting Lasix dropping down. I like the fact that Kelly Breen ran this horse once before putting this horse in kind of where he belongs. Give him one more shot in the special weight ranks. He didn't really run well at all. Drop, Lasix. Let's try and get the money today.
One thing I'd noticed about Perpetual Change in his 2 races so far is that he breaks running and then he's just not able to really kind of keep up and settles back. And to me, that's a sign that he's just running against too tough. I feel like the drop is certainly going to help. He did come running in his debut. He ran behind Ocala Dream last time, who came back to win New York Stallion Series. So he's obviously kept some good company as far as Ghostmon, and we have that last race for when he ran back on June 10th. And for me, I thought it was overall a fine performance. He almost seemed, and I don't know what you took from this, he almost seemed a little uncertain as far as he didn't seem comfortable potentially going inside of horses, didn't want to go between, Javier taking him outside, and then he kind of lingered a little bit there in the stretch.
It was a little bit of an indecisive ride as well. I'm not looking to pick on a Hall of Famer, but I do believe that if one path is chosen, maybe the result is a little different. With that said, he is kind of a one-paced horse. He kind of gets to them,
yeah,
and then he doesn't. And I don't want a horse like that as a privative favorite.
We'll try to pull the minor upset there in the opener as we go to race number 2, 2-year-olds. This is always a fun way to have an early race in the day here. 2-year-old boys going 5.5 furlongs on the main track. 1 scratch of the Todd Pletcher firster up to the mark, so we will not see that one today. We both end on the Steve Asmussen firster, called by Gunrunner. Under the Gun, owned and bred by Winchell Thoroughbreds.
Yeah, he has a Gunrunner in the, I forget the horse's name, later on today in one of the 2-year-old stakes races down at Churchill Downs, the debutante or the Bashford Manor. This one out of a Girolamo mare, New York bred sire. Yeah, drawn
The dam
outside.
was a nice New York bred.
Yes, yeah. George Weaver, maybe?
Toner, Jimmy Toner.
Jimmy Toner. I thought it was George Weaver. All right, I'm going to digress. I like the gate work. The 47 and 3 out of the gate. Source is drawn outside for the gate work. Little speed. I think you want to be in or you want to be out. I'd rather not be mid-pack. I'd rather be inside, save the ground, try and break alertly. I'd rather be outside, don't have anybody here outside there. So if you break with some speed and you break a little outwardly, it doesn't affect you as much. Yeah, I thought you could coin flip between the 1-4. I guess you'd have to play rock, paper, scissors since it's a three-way move. Between the 1-4 and 7 in here, I went with Asmussen and Rosario on the outside.
At the number 4, Labarde, first-time starter for Saffie Joseph Jr. And I think in general we've seen, Saffie Sparn doing really, really well running here in New York. And we've seen some more 2-year-olds as he's gotten more 2-year-old stock. But still 2-year-old first-time starters. Not one of the strongest moves for the barn. 2-year-old first-time starters, 10 for 79 for 13% and $1.15 ROI. This one to me on pedigree looked like he might want to go a little bit longer, being out of Eskin for money, multiple graded stakes winner who's going long on dirt.
Yeah, got that 34 gate breeze, but like you said, Acacia, Source's pedigree tells you that he's going to likely want some more ground. I'll tell you what, he may even want turf. When all of a sudden, I know she was a dirt filly, but I think there's some turf in this horse's pedigree as well. Listen, horse makes a lot of sense. Saffie Joseph. It seems like every horse that's come up here has been ready to roll. Some of them have been a little ambitiously placed. A couple of others did what they were supposed to do, maybe break a maiden for a tag, win a condition claiming race, and then kind of had to run over their head afterwards just because there's really nowhere else for them to go. We haven't seen any 2-year-olds. Let's see how the 2-year-olds go. Again, you're going to take a short price. And I know Todd Pletcher had one in here. I believe this horse got sick this morning and was forced to scratch. And Saffie reached out for Manny. Manny Franco's not a guy that rides a lot of horses for Saffie Joseph. So I would think if this horse was a little bit more meant today, there would have been a guy or gal who Saffie uses more. Manny's a great rider. I'm a big Manny Franco fan. It's just, I thought that was a little bit of a curious move.
I kind of thought, and I agree with you, I thought maybe, because Manny has been a little bit more aggressive, and Saffie likes him to jump off and go, too. And with that 34 gate work, I wonder if they're going to try to send, I just thought perhaps maybe needing a race and maybe a little bit more distance
And
I
agree with both of those things. I will say this, though, and when you are doing the workout, when you're trying to decipher these workouts on your own, if you see a big discrepancy between the gate and the pole, I think you look at them differently as opposed to a horse like this who has worked obviously not as fast from the pole as he has from the gate, but the fact that he worked 34 from the gate, he still worked 37 from the pole.
Yep.
This horse probably has some speed, and maybe that is why Manning was very good out of the gate. Maybe that is why Manning's aboard this horse today. We have a few riders out of town today as well, so maybe that's why Manning's aboard this horse. Horse can obviously win today, but like you, with this pedigree, I would not be surprised if this horse either needed one or more ground.
You also have High Oak, first-time starter by Gormley for Belmont. On the bottom side, the dam is a sister to some really strong runners, including Silk and Sapphire, who was the dam of Grade 1 winner, Shared Account. There's a lot of turf distance pedigree kind of deep in that bottom side. And waiting for the Gormleys to pick up.
Yeah, we'll see what we get out of Gormley. We've seen a handful of runners now, haven't seen too much.
Yep.
This horse has a 36 move from the pole up over the Oklahoma, which is great to say.
Yeah, I love that.
Drawn inside. We'll see how much speed this horse has as well. The problem going 5.5 is if you're inside without speed, what kind of trip are you going to work out? Now it's a small field, it's just a field of 6. I think the rail helps regardless, for the simple fact that you're right on top of the turn, and at the very least, you're not going to wind up 3, 4, 5 wide. But if you don't have any speed, you tend to be more susceptible to getting shuffled out of there, especially with the younger horses. I would worry about this more with 2-year-olds than I would with any other age. But yeah, this horse can win. I'm going to play we're playing the early pick 4, early pick 5. I'll use those 3 and hope to move the change. I'll be rooting for High Oak. I'm always rooting for my man Lee.
Yeah.
And he'll be the biggest price of the 3. So
Yeah, there you go.
without playing the race
Even better.
vertically, I'll be rooting for the biggest price in the sequence.
2-year-olds in race number 2 as we have a nice starter allowance in race number 3. 7 furlongs on the main here for fillies and mares. Let's start with She Answered, and she's a little edgy as these two will rematch out of that May 22nd race last time out. Rob Atras picked up She's a Little Edgy last time out. She Answered was off a layoff. You would think both of these potentially a chance to improve. I thought out of this, She Answered was the one that I wanted.
So this is where I think the 3 fillies who are going to take the most money here, the 1 She Answered, the 5 She's a Little Edgy, and the 6 Miss Leanna, they all kind of have the same quality of race under their belt at some point in their career. And at this point, for me, obviously by the picks, the one I would be most against is She Answered, for the simple fact that this barn, which started off very strongly, has dropped off considerably the last 18 months. And that goes in hand with the fact that she's running into 2 horses from 2 of the hottest barns on the planet. Orlando Noda's barn, trainer of Miss Leanna, who's won 3 of her last 4. She's in career form, has won with his last 3 horses off the claim. This is something the barn always did poorly in their first 2 years. They weren't very good off the claim. They won with everything else, but now they're winning first off the claim as well. So to me, I handicapped this race very basically. She got a ring put around her, proverbially speaking, and She's a Little Edgy ran so well 2 back in the slot that you wondered if it was the wet track.
Synthetic win prior to that.
She came back with a giant effort last time and kind of confirmed that number, basically saying, listen, you had me on synthetic. My dirt races before the synthetic were better than the synthetic races. I don't know why I was on synthetic. Get me back on the dirt, and comes up with 2 huge efforts. So to me, this was 6s and 5s. Move the chains. I'm going to take the hot barn and the filly that I would imagine is in front in here in Miss Leanna.
I would agree. I think that she's going to be the speed, Miss Leanna. She is stepping up after being claimed for 16, but as you mentioned, the barn has been so good with claiming, and she doesn't meet any killers in this spot. I thought She Answered. I thought that she could build off of her last race, and I agree. The barn has been cold here, not just at the meet, but for the year. For me, I thought a little bit with the 7 furlongs should suit. Second off the layoff, she has that race under her belt now. The kind of wild card is the 3, Cadeau de Pai, who gets a little half extra furlong. She's been kind of knocking on the door. She's been consistent. She had that big figure 2 starts back behind Subsidiary.
You throw her 1 race out, second off the year plus layoff. She's been fantastic. I mean, even those 2 races, really. She's been really good. She's run some competitive races. And last time, surprisingly, was chasing eventual winner Honey Money.
Right, who's in really good form.
Yeah, who's in very good form. That was first off the Wayne Potts claim.
Excuse me.
She never had that kind of speed. And that was the kind of race where it looked like Honey Money was going to be in front, but they looked like there were 2 or 3 other horses that could have been putting some pressure on. She wound up doing the dirty work. She did the dirty work, and then she hung on nicely to finish 3rd. She's a little dangerous. She'd be the price. But again, if she wasn't running into 2 buzzsaws right now, it would be a different story. Listen, it has to play a role in how you bet these races. Maybe I overthink it. It has to play a role in how you're putting your tickets together and how you're playing these races. Where a filly like Cadeau de Pai, who is probably on par with these horses, and Bob Plasaris is having a nice meet. He's at the board with 40% of his runners, running into 2 barns right now that are white hot.
We'll see if either one of them can pick up yet another winner here at this meet as we go to race number 4 next. $32,000 claiming race, 6 furlongs on the main track. And speaking of Orlando Noda, he's got another big chance in here. I just couldn't get by Win with Pride. You mentioned at the start, a race where you just couldn't really see past one or two horses. And for me, I just kept going back to this one in this spot.
Yeah, you know, you have Aristocratic in here, and you have Full Salute in here. These are two horses that need to lead. Neither of them, I don't think, are a factor in the outcome, but they're certainly the main players for the first 3.5 furlongs of this race.
I'll set it up nicely for Win with Pride.
Right? And a horse like Win with Pride, who can use a little help up front, is going to get it. I think he has a little bit more of an edge over Coppertown because I think Coppertown either A, needs a little bit more ground, or B,
I very much agree with that.
and they kind of go hand in hand. His better races are when he is on or close to the
When
lead.
stretching out, being able to settle a little bit more.
He can't, and the proof's in the pudding. Aristocratic got in front of a horse like Happy Farm. It put this horse on the chase, and Irad just let Happy Farm settle. So Coppertown was on the chase. Now Coppertown gets Irad, and you have Full Salute and Aristocratic to keep themselves company. But this horse is just not as effective to me when he has to rate. And today he's going to have to rate. I don't know what you do with Vici. Rob Actress claimed this horse from Rudy, 2 for 2 on the turf, a horse that hadn't won in 30 months, won back-to-back races, now goes back to the dirt. This horse's faster races in his career have come on the main track. They've come on the main track. You see the voided claim last time? I don't know what the void was for. But you see this horse going to the dirt.
He's 1 for 12 on the dirt, too, with 5 seconds and 2/3.
But he's in form.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
this horse,
absolutely.
for a horse that hasn't won in 30
Absolutely.
months to win two in a row.
Yeah.
You know, that's a feat unto itself at this point. Getting Vici, getting back-to-back
You
win
get
pictures with
Vici to
Vici.
win twice in a row.
In
He's
3
doing something
weeks.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, he was the second horse. And again, I think he's a little bit better at not being forward and being able to sit off some speed. And that's what led me to, the 3 major players in here. I think the 2 that will benefit the most from the pace are going to be Vici and Win with Pride.
Race number 5 coming up next. 7 furlongs on the turf here. $62,500 claiming race. High-level race coming up here. And going to a couple of others. Race number 5 is Lily Simone is out.
Yeah,
Top
guys,
pick,
those should
you
be
move into the
7-6. I should be 7-6-2-9. As agreeing horses continues here on the Naira Network.
You know what? We've got no shot today because we're all on the same, same bandwagon.
You know what's funny? I feel that way every day, and now you're in the same boat as me. I'm sorry I drug you down with me.
Magisterium, Lily Simone, unfortunately, out of the race. So Magisterium, where we both play on this one, off the layoff last time. Was in showing speed last time out. Before that, had been running in Stakes Company. Ran into Caldi, who was game last time. Second off the bench. Just looks like this filly finds a good spot, especially, I think, with having shown some natural speed last time.
Yeah, she's cutting back from the mile to the 7. She surprisingly got in front of Caldi last time, who they decided to rate. Had I known that, I probably would have bet Caldi back after betting on when she went to the lead. Yeah, like you said, the fact that she showed some speed last time, going the mile, now she gets back to the 7. Truth of the matter is, Acacia, there's no real speed in here. And Joelle has put slower horses on the front end and stole them on the front end, than her. I don't love the fact that off the layoff they ran on one time. She ran well enough, and now she's in for the tag. They claim everything around here.
Oh, yeah.
And she has all of her conditions because even the allowance race she won, it was only an $81,000 purse. So she's still eligible for the A/N as by, she ran in it last time. Win, she gets claimed. It's $120,000. It's like winning a stakes race, I guess. I guess.
Sense. You've also got Gambling Cat, and we'll show her last start where she was elevated from second to first. The controversial disqualification
to say the least.
She's on the outside. Ho Ho was the one that crossed the wire first there, and the inside runner was the one that had kind of run up into the hole, meaning Gambling Cat was elevated to first. Maybe she just meets the right spot coming back again, though.
Have you ever seen a horse beaten a neck that had no chance to win from the quarter pole home?
And then gets elevated
None.
to first.
I mean, I remember watching that replay when I got home, and I picked and bet on ho, 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 ho.
Yeah.
And was stunned when they made the DQ.
Yeah.
I think it hurts more, from whatever point of view you want to take, knowing that they put up a horse that they could have still been running around this turf course.
She wasn't going to go by.
She was not going by. And now she finds herself, listen, and we both wind up with a second. I don't know what else to do.
No,
Maybe Malibu Luna runs well on the turf. She won one of those restricted races, which I believe are coming back in Saratoga this year. The maiden races that are under 35,000 at auction, correct? She gets LASIK, she gets turf, she gets a little bit more ground for her first start since October of last year. She's by Orb, yeah. I mean, there's not an overwhelm, I don't know if she's a little, I doubt she's going to be a little lawnmower, but in this field.
I didn't see any really turf on the bottom side, but Orb has been a good kind of sprint, middle distance influence as far as turf is concerned. You've got Lightning Lou, first time in the U.S. for Mike Maker. I wouldn't exactly say she was running against the toughest fields over in Europe, but one thing I will say is that she was forwardly placed in all of those. Looking at those races, she did show speed in Europe. We often see, though, sometimes that speed doesn't always transfer, and she's running on the turf for the first time.
Yeah, it didn't yesterday with Amy C, and she still won. That was an impressive effort yesterday. That twofold problem with Lightning Lou. A, all polytrack races overseas. B, in for a tag, first time in North America.
Very good point.
I mean, kind of fourth by attrition in here, but tough to get past Magisterium at this point. A horse, you don't want to make a pick like her at 4 to 5.
No, I agree.
But I don't have any other alternative in here.
Could just
maybe
be
Malibu Luna takes to the turf and pays.
Yeah. Maybe she
well,
is
Lee
a
will be here,
lawnmower.
so maybe she'll pay $12.
Maybe she is a lawnmower. Well, we'll see. Interesting little race there in the 5th. We'll take a quick time out, hear from our sponsors. When we come back, we'll talk about the late pick 5s. Stay with us on Talking Horses.
Make business meetings exquisite. Make a weekend outing exquisite. Make a late night snack exquisite. Make a night on the town exquisite. For nearly 150 years, the Saratoga Spring Water Company has been producing the finest spring water available anywhere. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Welcome back to Talking Horses with Acacia Courtney and Anthony Stabile. Talking Horses, as always, brought to you by Saratoga Water.
Was that good?
That's my favorite part of the show.
I know it is.
I always look forward to it. It's great. And, of course, we appreciate all the support from Saratoga Water.
You should be dancing real well yesterday for Adam McCarroll.
Very well. Off a layoff, too. Yep.
Pay some bills. Second money in the New York Bred Maiden race. Pays plenty of bills.
Be a fun little year with that one.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Race number 6 will kick off the late pick 5 here at beautiful Belmont Park. We're going 6.5 furlongs on the main track, and there's 30,000 non-winners of 2 in life. And I know that this race is Maioea is the one, and I stared at this race for so long, just like, how can I try to beat her with a bit of a price?
A fuzzy.
So I went a little rogue here, but she's the filly to beat.
Get it? A fuzzy Rosie's Peach.
Oh, I see what you did there. I see what you did.
Yeah. I have no fuzzies in here, folks. Another one of these, I feel, 2-horse races that we're going to be faced with today. Maioea coming back off the long layoff. What are we looking at here? We're looking at 16 months. Mm-hmm. She has 3 races on her card as a 2-year-old that would win this race.
Oh, easily. Easily.
So I know she's been gone a long time. I don't have the numbers, but Todd's horses run well off these extended layoffs.
Absolutely.
They're prepared. She's in for the tag. She's not winning a New York bred other than off of her figures. She's winning a 2 Life for 30. She's not winning a New York bred allowance race. We have some nice New York bred fillies out there right now. So he's running her where she belongs. You know, obviously she's been gone a while. Probably has some issues. But this is another instance where if she wins today and she gets claimed and she has all of her conditions, she's probably not gonna have the 2 Life for 30 after today. But if she needs one off the layoff, she's going somewhere new today. If she wins and she gets claimed, it's $55,000. And you know what? You're kind of out on the last year and change. So you run away, they can win. She can win this race. I think the only horse that I would want to try against her is the 2, East Wing. East Wing tried some Florida-bred fillies 2 starts back, going long. Going 7 furlongs rather, a little longer. She got Lasix for the first time last time.
She was 108 to 1, back 2 in that Florida bred race.
Right. It was a little minor stakes race. She was 5 to 1 last time, first time turf.
Just by Foldet.
She didn't run that well, but she got the Lasix that day. Now she gets the Lasix. She gets back to her preferred surface. She gets back to the distance she broke her maiden at for the special weight down at Tampa. I think if anybody beats Mayowa today, it'll be East Wing.
I was too hard on her. I just didn't. Sometimes I always have questions of some of that Tampa form sometimes coming up here to New York. And I know, you've got Mayowa off a layoff. I'm going to try Rosie's Peach. And I've tried her several times over the years. But I felt, and I realized that her win is not as fast as Mayowa's, but she's going to be a significantly bigger price. She has some natural speed from the inside, Jose Lezcano. I've always preferred her sprinting versus going long. And she's a horse that's kind of been right there at some big prices, and she might just not be good enough. I'm aware of that, but I'm willing to take a shot with her if she's 12 to 1.
If you tried to talk me onto Big Tony's Girl or Love Me Tomorrow, I would probably try and fight you. The other 7. The other 7, I can't. I don't really have a big argument.
I don't think I'd have a shot in that fight.
I don't have not physically. You'd have a shot verbally. Big Tony's Girl and Love Me Tomorrow. Big Tony's Girl on a wet track would be a different story.
Yes.
Love Me Tomorrow, she's kind of fallen off form in the last 3. You want to make a case for any of the other 7, that's fine. I went with the horse that I think if she comes back and if Mayowa comes back without any improvement from early 3-year-old year to middle of a 4-year-old year, she's going to win.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. Maybe I should have picked East Wing against her for a little more value. Again, I'm going to make a late pick 5. I'm using those 2. And if I don't get past with those 2, that's why the late pick 4 was put in its place.
There's always another option. We'll talk about that late pick 4. It starts in the 7th, going 1.25 miles on the inner turf. Love these kinds of races and this allowance optional claiming. And this is one that I definitely am looking forward to. You've got some old class horses in here as well, including Rock Emperor, the 5-year-old who has not won in the U.S. He's gotten very close, and this is his race back, 2 starts back, finishing 3rd in the Fort Marcy behind his stablemate, Trubivant, who took them wire to wire. He ran behind Domestic Spending last time in the Manhattan. He's the class in here. Does he break through?
His 3rd place finish in the Belmont Derby 2 summers ago when he first arrived for trainer Chad Brown. That effort has cost me so much money. Little A, it's not even funny. He's run faster figures, but I think everybody's been waiting for him to come back and run that race. The tough trip, big close. He was only 5. And can you remember a Chad Brown horse that came to this country that's 0 for 9?
No.
I can't.
And he's been close. He's taken money. He's been the favorite at least 5 times since he's been here in the U.S. And
he's tried everything.
Being a neck in the Manhattan last year.
John Velasquez, Joel Rosario, Rad Ortiz, Jose
Blinkers on
Ortiz and
last
Manny
time
Franco.
out, blinkers on in the Manhattan last time.
Everything's
Yeah.
been tried. I really like a horse in this race. I really like Mr. Alec today. I know Mr. Alec needs to improve, but I think Mr. Alec has a big advantage in here. Mr. Alec's going to be on the front end in here. And I think his races are better when he is forwardly placed. And Joel Rosario loves walking the dog in these races and doling out
And
some
this is the horse
speed.
that wants the distance.
This is the
too.
horse that wants the distance. This is the horse that wants to be in front. I mean, the blinkers are going on Opry from the rail. Maybe he's forward today. It's part of the reason I want to use
He's off
him.
form, though.
He's off form. He's going to be overbet because it's Todd and Irad Ortiz Jr. I just want Mr. Alec on the front end today. This is one of those races where I want to bet Mr. Alec to win. I'm going to make an exacta box. I'll make a little turnaround with Rock Emperor. Now, they're the first and second choices on the line. I have to imagine some of these other horses. I think the horse you picked, who I don't prefer him today,
He's the wild card.
but he's a little interesting.
Yeah. It's been a while since Dot Matrix has won. He won the Red Smith back in 2019. He was one that was kind of the buzz horse, I thought, coming into obviously a big player, it seemed, in the Tiller when we finally, that was the second day back racing in 2020 after the pandemic. And I remember talking about him then. And he was beaten ahead that day, wasn't able to compete in the Manhattan. And he's a New York bred. He's gone back and forth between these New York bred races and running in graded stakes. And he's got talent. I wonder because his last couple of starts, he hasn't been great out of the gate. And that's something that concerns me now as an 8-year-old.
He's had that problem in his history too.
He has.
You'll see a couple of comments on the forum, and I remember even when he was 5, 6 years
When
old,
he was younger, he would
do
do
these
that.
things as
he
well.
would do that. He'd have some antics, and so I think he's better when he's not too far back. I think he wants the distance. He went a mile last time, which I just think is too tight for him, and he wasn't good out of the gate again. I'm hoping that he's a little bit more forward, second off the layoff. He's got back class, and we'll see if he can run back to that. Today is kind of the real telling day, I think, for him as an 8-year-old. Where does he stand?
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. This is kind of a crossroads for him today. What happens with Dot Matrix after today? Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you said. He's not for me. Like I said, I'll be a little bit of a sucker and take less of a price. I would rather take less of a price on Opry with the connections and the blinkers going on. I thought this was a 2-horse race, and to be honest, I really like Mr. Alec today.
Mr. Alec, we'll see if he can take him gate to wire in the 7th race as we get into stakes action. Next to our stakes, the grade 2 Mother Goose is the 8th, the mile and a 16th on the main track for the 3-year-old fillies. And always Karina, she's the one running out of her stall here, training at Belmont. We'll take a look at her last start. Didn't break that sharply, but it really, I don't think, cost her anything. She moved up right away to the front end. She's affiliated by Malibu Moon. I don't think the extra distance is going to be a problem for her. She's just been so dominant in her 2 starts.
My guess is she's been to the gate 15 times.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Since that day. I don't know that for a fact. 12 times, right? 5.5 weeks. When you watch her run, you know she looks like she's a special filly.
Yes.
But she still has to make the step up into these graded races. I mean, there aren't too many more prestigious 3-year-old filly races than the Mother Goose. And she's running into 2 fillies who have left a little bit of a thumbprint on the division this year. Clairiere has been fantastic for Steve Asmussen. You know, 3rd place finish to the 2 fillies who are in a loaded division. Malathat and Search Results are the clear-cut leaders in this division.
Yep.
And she got to be 3 lengths to them. You know, she's won one of the preps. She was second in another prep for the Oaks. She's run well at Churchill. She's run well at the Fairgrounds. Her running style leads you to believe that the 1-turn mile and a 16th is going to be something she is going to absolutely love. Right? She has no early speed, and horses like her who come out the back, they love that 4.5 furlong run to the far turn here without having to be encumbered by a turn. So, a second turn, I should say.
Right.
So she's supposed to improve and make mischief. What has she done wrong? She's done nothing wrong this year. She had the one race in the Busher that wasn't very good. when she was wide, when it was a good speed inside track, and all she's done the rest of the year is win half of her 6 starts, third in the 8 bells, third running on in the Acorn last time behind search results. So she's running against a couple of fillies that have had a really nice start to the year, but she has a huge tactical edge. She's faster than these horses early, and at the end of the day, she might be the most talented. I think that's enough.
Always Karina.
Always Karina, yeah. I mean, she has such a huge tactical edge in here. She's going to be in front of them. And that combined with her presumed enormous talent, I think it was hard for me to get past her. I thought about it, though.
Yeah. She is the half-sister to Structor, Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf winner. Never got to run on the dirt. He came back just once earlier this year, and we haven't seen him again. The Dam was her only win of Always Karina was an off-the-turf mile race at Belmont. Second Dam was a very good sprinter, but I thought it was funny. She was 4th in the Kentucky Oaks.
Wow.
She could kind of handle the distance. So there's, I think, plenty of pedigree for her to stretch out if that's something you're concerned about. For me, the interesting one, and you and I talked about this the other day, is Iliogami coming up from Kentucky for Rusty Arnold. Her last 2 races off the layoff back in 2021 have been very good, and she's stepping up, obviously, to face Graded Stakes Company for the first time today. But I'd say it looks like she's shipping up with intent, so to speak.
You look at her pedigree, especially the bottom end, and you think it's going to be turf. And she's a dirt horse. She's outrunning the turf pedigree on the bottom.
Yeah.
She's dirt. She's tap it. She's great tap it. She's a dirt horse. That's what it boils down to. I would ordinarily worry about the Lasix if she didn't have that 2-year-old dirt race. 2-year-old dirt race was very good, especially when I would imagine it was a little bit of a surprise when you run twice on the turf and then you wind up on the dirt, or you kind of wind up on the dirt down there. I'm not sure if that was one of the end of the Churchill meet. They closed the turf course last year. They left the condition book alone, and they just moved the races. It was that time.
Yeah.
They moved. That was closing day. They moved the turf races in the book to the dirt. So I don't know if that was even an accident that she
Originally
ran on the
carded
dirt.
as a turf race.
It could have been. But she's a dirt horse. She's proven that. She won short stretch at Keeneland. She ran down a Chad Brown horse in Precipitate that looked home Jerome at the quarter pole. Ran her down in the short stretch. Came back and won again at Churchill. And she's another one. Her running style is conducive to the mile and a 16th here around the 1 turn at Belmont Park. Always Karina could be any kind. She's reminiscent of Guarana, right, who Chad broke her maiden at Keeneland and came back and won the Acorn in her second start. She got the benefit of another race before trying the Graded Stakes Company. But she's running into, it's a field of 5, but I'll tell you what, Clairiere can win. Iliogami's a little bit of a stretch, I would think, to win, but she's improving, and Make Mischief has done very little wrong this year. This is a fantastic renewal because you get a couple of fillies, like I said, that have already left their mark a little bit on the division, and another one who could be a star in the making.
And I don't like Zygel in here, but it's Todd Pletcher for Shadwell. You never really know, I guess, when it's Todd Pletcher either.
She won the Forward Gal, grade 3.
And was all out to win it that day.
But the way she won the race, you could have looked at it 2 ways. A, she's not much. B, she doesn't want to sprint. And ultimately, maybe she just needs an abundance of ground.
It seems to think so.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll see. That is an excellent rendition of the Mother Goose indeed, as the stakes action continues with the wild applause in race number 9, a mile on turf for the 3-year-old filly. It's got the 3-year-old girls in the spotlight today, as a couple of in here for Chad Brown. The number 2, Minon.
Yeah.
Won impressively last time out. Her first start here in the U.S. off a layoff.
I couldn't. I'm a huge Lovestruck fan.
I know.
We'll get to her in a minute. This filly's first race in this country, that was lights out.
Yeah.
That was lights out. She comes in off a July
Couldn't have done
layoff.
it any easier, too.
Sprinting. I mean, she won in a common gallop. Manny was making the lead with her and taking a hold of her. You don't see that in a turf sprint, no less. She'll stretch out to the mile. Her pedigree says the mile is just gonna smack her right between the eyes. She's got a good draw. She's another one, though. And she's not as precocious as always Karina, I don't think. But she finds herself in a race with some really nice up-and-coming fillies.
Yeah.
I think led by Lovestruck, who, if you remember closing day at Saratoga last year, Lovestruck was in the Godolphin Blue. She made that big move on the far turn, kind of side slam.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Islanders
All
lost
over the
last night,
place.
but it looked like a hip check. It looked like one of the Islanders hip checked the filly to her outside. She went on with it. I don't think there was any kind of injury. I think she was sick. She missed the Miss Grillo, and then she missed the Chelsea Flower. And Andy and I were like, where's
What happened
Lovestruck?
to her?
And she showed up in the Tepin right about the time we were wrapping things up over at the Big A on the turf. And she, again, won that race in pretty easy fashion. So she'll have to step up, but you would imagine her 2-year-old form has given us a glimpse as to what kind of talent she could be.
The half-sister to Scat Daddy, and she's undefeated in her 2 starts as of yet, taking the winter off, coming back for her 3-year-old debut. If she improves off of that 2-year-old form, a scary thought, too, to see what she may have to offer. Bye Bye is undefeated on the turf since switching to the grass. She won the Grade 3 Soaring Softly last time, as we'll look at that, over Invincible Gal, who we saw as a 2-year-old behind Lovestruck as well. This was kind of the coming out party for her as she notched that graded stakes win. Certainly gives her a touch of class, but again, facing some nice up-and-coming fillies in here.
You see a horse making just her 3rd start, going from a 5-furlong race at Gulfstream to a 7-furlong race at Belmont. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's the biggest change you're going to see a horse make, but it's a
certainly not the same.
it's pretty significant. It's a huge quarter of a mile considering the course configurations and the dynamics of those races, right? The 7/8 here, it doesn't play exactly to a route, but it certainly doesn't play to us. I would say it would lean more route than it would lean sprint. She was sensational. Outside draw,
Gutsy.
nothing bothered her. She was on the pace. She made a big move on the turn. She made a 5-wide move, 4-wide move, got there and stayed there. That's what impressed me more. She probably made the lead a smidge too early going 7, but she stayed on and held those horses off. Big effort. She'll have to get another furlong now. She gets her 4th rider in her 4th start. This time she gets the services of the master, Joel Rosario. Yeah, I mean, again, problem is Lovestruck, bye-bye, off of Manon's first race. They still both need to improve to get to where Manon was in her first U.S. start.
I thought the one Alda was a little interesting. She won the Hilltop last time, went stretching out at Pimlico, and that was over Seasons, who was off a layoff, but was a highly touted Jimmy Toner filly on the turf, well-bred as well. And she was one of the few that was really closing on the turf course that weekend at Pimlico. So I really gave her a nod for that, as I thought that she improved. I think she'd have to improve a lot to be a contender with some of the others that we talked about, but I thought she was moving in the right direction given what she overcame last time.
Yeah, she can win. My biggest problem with her was I think Seasons was best last time, and despite the fact that this filly was wide, Johnny kind of gave her a cleaner trip.
She had an easier trip than Seasons for sure.
So that was the thing. I thought the number 9 Runaway Rumor was interesting. Runaway Rumor won the next to last race on Belmont Stakes Day. She bucked
very
a trend.
impressive.
Yeah, she bucked a Jorge Abreu stat. I think Andy put up a stat. He was 0 for 35 stretching out off turf sprints. And this filly is the one and the 1 for 36. That always impresses me. She improved her by a figure 15 points from the sprint on the inner to the mile on the outer. Again, big difference. It's only 2 furlongs, but that, 6 furlongs I would consider a turf sprint. That mile on the outer, a little different. It's a long, most people think it's a long sprint, but it's a big quarter of a mile, and it certainly plays a lot differently. It plays as a route. She was impressive. She's stepping up again, but I'll tell you what, she had big improvement from start 1 to start 2. She did it with just about 3.5 weeks in between. She's only has 3 weeks now, but she's already shown you that she can run well without an abundance of time between starts. I thought she added some intrigue to this heat as well.
the sister to My Heart Belongs to Daddy, who suddenly found a lot of speed and then was taking them gate to wire in those New York bred stakes races. We wrap things up, though, on the turf. 6 furlongs on the inner here, maiden special weight in the nightcap, as we'll take a look at the 11 Gale Horse Wind and her last start, filly by Flintshire. She finished second. Last time out for Linda Rice, closing a little bit. She's run some fast figures in her 2 starts so far, keeps Jose Lascano. Overall, I thought it was a fine performance. She was 54-1 in her debut, and I thought it actually ran okay, but took a big step forward second time out.
Yeah, she was a prototypical Linda Rice second-time starter, right? Was a little bit closer than she was the time before, and ran much better than she did the time before. She just ran into a nice little Chad Brown filly. She can win. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a 2-horse race between her and So Enchanting, who I thought was, I thought So Enchanting was good in her first 2 races. She kind of made the lead probably a little too soon here at Belmont. She came back 22 days later. That's not a move the barn usually utilizes. I thought she ran okay behind a filly in Honey Pants, who has proved herself useful turf.
Same
she
thing
ran
with
okay on
Oyster
dirt,
Box,
going
too. She
long.
raced in the debut.
Oyster Box, same thing. She gets Lasix. Flavien Prat, who's here riding today. I thought it was mostly 9 and 11, our top 2 picks. Milestone Payment draws the rail. She ran, I guess it would be the other division of the race that So Enchanting ran in. And she showed speed. They liked this horse. They liked this horse first time out. And she showed speed. I would keep an eye on her as well. I would like I said, it could. There's an illusion this could be a 2-horse race. Milestone Payment can run a little bit. I'll be using her as well.
Got a couple of first-time starters in there as well. Fun way to wrap up the day, as that'll do it. That's the 10 races on the card. We have America's Day at the Races coming up just in about 12 minutes. As we want to remind you, you can sign up. Get over to Naira Bets. We have that promo code MATCH200 for you. Go to NairaBets.com, download the app, get up to a $200 deposit match bonus. You can also play the 50-50-50 on Naira Bets, Churchill, Belmont, and Thistledown. Closing day at Churchill Downs. Make sure you opt in for that. Get a $15 bonus today on Saturday. And all 3 of those tracks in play for the cross-country Pick 5 today as well, starting about 4:55 Eastern. All stakes sequence today. That'll be a fun one. Kicks off with the 9th at Churchill, the 2-year-olds in the Bashford Manor. And finally, in just a few minutes, get ready for America's Day at the Races. Be me and Paula Duca on the set to start things off, 12:30 to 6:30, Fox Sports 2. As that'll do it for us, Talking Horses, presented by Saratoga Water. One more day together tomorrow.
You got it. I'll be here.
I'll be here too. You know where to find us. For now, we'll send it up now to track announcer John Imbrial for a reprise of the Scratches and Changes. Good luck today, everyone.